Thank you very much. I found that really inspiring, and I almost want to just say ditto to everything they just said. Wait, I was going to use that. Sorry. I'm like chasing the podium. Okay, so I am here to tell you about something really simple and easy, a little topic called Get the Life You Want. Small topic. So I was the editor of Self magazine for almost 13 years before starting Hinted. And one of the things that I always worried about going to work at Condé Nast every day, I'd say to my husband, like, I'm not a fashionista. And he was like, just be authentic. Wear cool ski pants and look kind of sporty and don't worry about the fact that you're not in a Chanel suit and all that. So I decided to take that as my mantra, sort of a do you thing. And I think one of the things that I can give you here, because I'm the oldest person in this room, is that kind of wisdom of that old lady on the Titanic. Like, I think I might be. But the whole idea is that, think of me as, grandma with the wisdom here, right? Because I've been around. This is a very young world, this tech world. When you're my age, you're in meetings with people literally younger than your kids. And I always say to my kids, like, I'm a cool mom. And they're like, no, you're not. But the people who work for me laugh, and my kids remind me, well, they get paid, Mom. Anyway, so I want to start my slides. I don't know who's in charge of this. Am I supposed to do it? I guess maybe I'm supposed to do it. So this was one of the biggest selling cover lines ever in the history of Self magazine. And one of the things I found so engaging about it was, we're not telling you that you don't love the life you have now. Obviously, live every moment, like enjoy the day. But the whole idea was to get the life you want while loving the life you have. And that was really important. So when I left Self, we had grown this website to 7 million, and Self had 12 million women in the universe. And it was really because we talked to them about what they cared about. I always say, if you want to know what women want, just ask them. So I would ask them, what do you want stories about? And they were like, I'm really not happy, and I'm stress eating, and I'm skipping my workouts, and my job is making me fat, and I don't know what to eat for lunch. And there was like a list. So we would go through this list and kind of knock out these stories. And one of the most popular stories was really about meaning and how to really enjoy your job or your relationship or your body, even if you had things you were trying to improve. So at Hinted, we talk about that wish list and that whole idea of like architecting your future self, right? Through shopping and through experiences and making a list of that life you want, right? So basically, I believe that one way to do this is to challenge yourself. I'm sorry to tell you that nobody got the life they want lying on a couch watching junk TV, although that's super fun and I do that all the time. But I think that you have to challenge yourself and you have to be the one to do this. So it turns out, I don't know if everybody knows this, but on average, we all have a new job about every 4 years. So right now in America, people change jobs between 11, 12, or 13 times in their career. And I don't know if you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is, but I love him. He's kind of insane. But he says at 50, you're halfway between graduating college and the end of your career. So if at 50, you reach a moment when it isn't really going for the way you want, you owe it to yourself to say the first, say, 28 years was just training, and the next 28 years is going to be what I really want to do. So it turns out there are 2 times in a person's life when they become an entrepreneur. One is when you have nothing to lose, and the other is when you have nothing to prove. Nothing to lose is the 22-year-old in the garage, and nothing to prove is somebody like me, who I was the president of the American Society of Magazine Editors. I've raised generations of editors-in-chief. There's literally editors-in-chief who were my assistant, and I now joke that I want to go work for them. But I really had nothing to prove. So I left Condé Nast and started Hinted. So one of the things you have to understand is, what is that mental picture, right? What does that look like for you? And if it isn't being your boss, you might want to think about a new job. And I'm serious. And then people would come to me after 4 years working for me and be like, I was in high school for 4 years, I was in college for 4 years, I need to make a change. And I was like, okay, let's consider this grad school. What can we do? What's different? How do you want to change your job? If you're writing about health and you want to write about nutrition, or if you want to change from doing print to doing digital, let's make this grad school. So that's why people stay with me for like 12 years, because I kept saying, if you're unhappy, rather than move to a new job, let's make you a new job here, because you're too valuable. I don't want you to leave me. So I was really invested in their careers, and they were really invested in staying with me because of that relationship. So the first thing you should do if you're antsy is tell your boss, I'm really, really antsy. Or your mentor, whoever is on your side. You've got to find somebody who's really on your team. So one of the things I like to say is if Instagram is that image of your future self, what we do at Hinted is we give you the ingredient list to get there. But I'm going to give you the ingredient list right here. Okay? You don't have to go on Hinted. You're going to learn this. So I had this great moment in my life where I'm at a shoot with J-Lo, and it was a long time ago, okay? But nonetheless, she had just had her babies, so let's go back 9 years, and she had just recovered, and I have very muscular arms. I was told don't show them on TV like they're scary, I look like a bodybuilder. That was just genetic. That was just, I don't do anything for that. That's just how it happened. So she goes, how'd you get those arms? And I'm so authentic and I'm so real. I should have said well, I do the workouts in Self magazine. I didn't say that. I said, I do triathlon. It just kind of came out of my mouth. And she goes, I was pregnant with twins lying on my couch watching Kona, the triathlon. I want to do a triathlon. I was like, great. It'll never happen. I never said that, but I said, great. And that was it. We bonded at the shoot, we left. We usually do one of those little Ed letter pictures, and we left. So then, about a week later, I get this call from the south of France, where she's at, the Cannes Film Festival, and she's swimming off Eden Rock and going around the dock like this, and she's in the New York Post, and she's swimming. And there's Mark Anthony on the raft, and everybody in her entourage is going what's she doing in the water? And I knew exactly what she was doing in the water. And I get this call from her sister going, Jennifer's really serious about this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So we signed her up for the Malibu Tri, which was a little scary because it's in the ocean off Zuma Beach with all the big surf. And we started training. So I went out to her Long Island house and we did some biking, and she was like, I'm a runner, I'm a fighter, I'm gonna learn to bike, and I'm scared to death of swimming. So we taught her to swim. She wouldn't put her head in the water, but it was like a water polo stroke. So it was really fun. And honestly, she was so into it. So when people found out she was doing a triathlon, everyone sent her all sorts of gear. And everybody wanted J-Lo in their gear. And I was like, okay, well, I can't guarantee it. I mean, she's not gonna be a sponsored athlete, but she just had gear up the yin-yang. So I always say personality is destiny, and nothing shows your personality better than when things go wrong. And they always go wrong. Things always go wrong, especially in a triathlon. So here's what went wrong. The waves were humongous, huge. It was an epic surfing day, and she was scared to death. Oh, but while we were training, there were jellyfish all over Long Island that year. It was a famous year. You get stung, stung, stung. And I just said, I really don't think there's gonna be jellyfish in the Pacific. I really think there might be sharks. She was scared to death. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, so she gets out of the water, and you can see the just ebullient look on her face. She got out of the water and went to put on all this gear that people had sent her, and her nanny thought it was the diaper bag, took it away with the twins down the beach. She had nothing to put on. I'm saying nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, anybody else would have quit right there, but she got out of the water and she was goddamn gonna ride her bike and do her run. So she turns to the guy next to her and goes, anybody got a spare t-shirt? And he's like, sure. So she puts on this extra large t-shirt that's falling off of her, and you can't even see that she has on shorts, and she is literally in somebody's t-shirt. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Zoot, and all the companies that sent her hundreds of dollars of try stuff. Didn't work. But she was here. She's like, where's my bag? Oh my God. We hold up towels. She changes. She gets in this t-shirt. And lo and behold, she finishes the race. It was the most fun she'd ever had in her whole life. And she has never forgotten it. She's always been like, that changed my life. Now, I can guarantee you she was scared to death. And so it just shows that everyone has something that scares them to death. And I would say, do the thing that scares you most. Whatever it is. For me, it's swimming with sharks, right? Do the thing that scares you most and challenge yourself. Okay, so this is me. I have an artist mother. She forgot to teach me how to draw. But I drew this because it's really important, and I'm gonna show you my bad drawing so that you'll learn something. So the left side is, let's say, train tracks, and that's to your default future, and the right side's a ladder, right? So you're gonna back yourself down the ladder. But first, let's look at what happens if you're on this track and nothing changes. You do the same thing every single day for the rest of your life, right? Whether it's you're eating donuts, maybe you're gonna get fat or heart disease, And for me, working at Condé Nast, you're gonna get fired, right? Because I wasn't gonna leave. There's only 2 ways the job ends. You either walk out or they carry you out. I loved Self, I wasn't going anywhere. So one day, sadly, they decided they needed a new editor. And also, sadly, the magazine folded 2 years later, which did not bring me any joy, let me tell you. When you work at something for 13 years, you don't like it when somebody else comes along and it doesn't work. But I knew I was gonna get fired, and I was kind of waiting because I knew I was gonna start my digital company with my severance. So here's the thing. You have to understand that you're either gonna break up, be bored to death at work, go broke, get fired. Something bad's gonna happen if you do nothing. Not to decide is to decide. You stay in a dead-end relationship, it's gonna end up in a dead end. You stay in a dead-end job, it's gonna end up in a dead end. You have to understand that doing nothing is a decision, okay? It brings us back to the 4 years, right? So I'm gonna say, make this a ladder and challenge yourself. Reach up, even if it's scary. You've gotta be scared, but it's worth it. So put that dream at the top of the ladder and then back it down. This is how we did this story itself. So we said, the writer wanted to win an Oscar, and so we said, well, what's the previous thing to going on stage and grabbing that statuette? Oh, she had to write an acceptance speech. So the next rung down was, what's in this speech? She's gonna thank her manager, her agent, her coach who taught her writing, and all her collaborators. So it's like, oh my God, I need a coach who's gonna teach me writing, and maybe that'll lead me to an agent, and then a manager, and then a collaborator. Bingo, she knew what she had to do, right? So back it down until where you are standing at the bottom, you know your next step. It's like Jennifer had to get in the water and learn to swim with her face out of the water, but she trained, right? So whatever you're trying to go for, you need to have a plan. That's how you turn a dream into a reality. You have to have a plan. My plan was, if they fire me, I get severance and I get to go start my company. So, you know, the day I got fired, people say to my husband, how's Lucy? And he goes, thrilled. Because I'd been there 13 years. I mean, it was long, 13 years, a long time, 18 at Condé Nast. So the other thing I tell people is find your tribe. If there are people in your life who do not believe in you, they are not your people. Find your people. Because you need to be able to say, I really, really, really want to start a digital company. And anybody kind of goes, well, what do you know about that? You shouldn't be doing that. Actually, I hear echoes of my dad saying things like that to me. He loved me, but he just didn't want me to like put myself in peril. The first time I did an Ironman, he called me up the night before and said, you know, you can always drop out. I was like, thanks for the good luck, Dad. But what he really meant was don't hurt yourself. Like, he loved me. But anyway, so, okay, find your people and don't let other people hold you back. Okay, and obviously you encourage your friends, like, you can do it, you're awesome, you got this, crush it. You know, these little psych notes that they put in each other's shoes before like a rowing race when my daughter was in college. Give yourself these little psych notes, and if anybody doesn't give you a psych note, they get thrown off the boat. So obviously lead with kindness. I totally agree with what the previous panel said. You psych each other up. You know, my favorite birthday card, my training partner for triathlon sent me, and she goes, you know, it's my job to tell you you're awesome. And then you open the card and it said, and on my birthday, it's your job to tell me I'm awesome. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I got to meet really great people when I was at Self, right? So I got to meet Serena. She came in a bunch of times. I met her a bunch of times, and I just adore her because authenticity is her middle name. And one of the things I would ask people is, what's your mantra? And her mantra was, do you. And then she paused, and she said, actually, it's do you, shorty. I was like, you are like 6 feet tall. She goes, no, shorty to me meant be humble. Don't let yourself get too big for your britches. So if other people, when she was a teenager, went out for movies and fun, she went to bed early to get up early to practice. Put in the work. You've got to be authentic to you and your goals. So once you have your ladder and you have your plan and you have your goals, do you and stay humble. And the most important thing to know is that there are no shortcuts. But if you're banking all that work, whether it's work in your physical life, work in your work life, work in your romantic life, work with your kids, it will pay you back. You can cash that check later. But the work goes in the bank, and that is so important. There's no shortcuts. So when I say authenticity, that doesn't mean we're not all evolving, right? We're all evolving. I didn't want to stay a magazine editor all my life. Magazines were dying, and I was the president of the American Magazine Association. It's like being the band leader on the Titanic, you know? And I'm like, There we go, Titanic again. But anyway, so I saw that happening, and I said, okay, I got to get out of here. But so you have to ask yourself, how did I get here? Own those decisions. We did a great piece at Self about one of our executive editor didn't have kids. And she goes, I hate it when people say to me, like, you know, how do you feel about not having kids? She goes, I own the fact that I traveled in my 30s, I became a magazine writer, I own every single decision I have made in my life. You are not a victim. You are the architect of your destiny. The first way to get the life you want is to understand that. Bad things can happen to you. People taking your clothes when you're in the middle of a triathlon. Bad things will always happen to you. Bad things, little things, big things. It's how you react that sets you apart. That is where personality is destiny. How you react when something doesn't go your way is everything. I mean, I'm raising money. I've been raising money for a while. My husband's ready to kill me. I'm putting more than just that little severance into this company. But you know, it's how you react that matters. You need to be resilient, and you need to own every decision you make, because you're grown-ups, right? So your former self, your past self, is also an indicator of your authenticity. I was this super sporty girl who loved to be outside all the time. I think I was a golden retriever in a previous life. I like sailing, and I like skiing, and I like all this stuff. I was terrible at ball sports. People would throw a ball at my face or my head, and I'd be like, it turns out I didn't have great vision. That's my excuse. I'm sticking with it. But I learned that I'm pretty strong, and I can get on a bike, and I can bike with boys. So, like, I found something that worked for me, right? So own your past, own your present, and architect your future, right? And be with those who truly love you. And I think that my favorite quote of all time, and I was not like a huge Sex and the City watcher, but my favorite quote of all time was when Carrie at the very end says, the most exciting, challenging, and significant relationship is the one you have with yourself. And that is the truth. And then she added, which I loved, and if you find someone to love and if you find someone to love the you love, well, that's just fabulous. And that was the end of the show, right? So it was really about loving yourself, finding your posse, and if you're lucky enough to find a guy who loves that version of you, that's the bonus. I just love that. So, okay, how can you figure out how to get the life you want? Well, I think it's kind of simple. You got to figure out what you like to do. I like to be on beaches. I like to be on bikes. I like to be outside. I was strapped to a magazine, chained to a desk. Like, I kind of felt a little like that glamorous Condé Nast job was a little bit like being in a crate if I was a golden retriever. I like to be outside. So my feeling is you've got to be honest with yourself about what you love to do. I love to be with my family. I love to shop. I'll be honest. I don't have any money right now, but it's virtual shopping on Hinted. You can just kind of keep adding to your wish list and you never have to buy it. But, you know, do more of what makes you happy. And you have to be honest about that. You know, you really have to understand what makes you happy. And I say to people, you can sit in a chair and close your eyes and kind of meditate on what it is you want to do. And then it's very telling when you get out of that chair, what do you do next? I love to do things like clean up my house. That makes me super happy. So I realize I'm very organized. I'm kind of a control freak. I really love to help women feel empowered and feel like they're architects of their life. So you know what? Whatever it is, own that and do more of that. So invest in what makes you happy every single day. I was hiking in the hills of Palo Alto and hearing roosters this morning as the sun came up, because that's what makes me happy, right? So do more of that and invest in what makes you happy. So for me, you know, I've started this little app. I'm hoping I can someday run this company from anywhere, from my phone, and it could be from, you know, Florida, where I'm biking and getting out of the cold weather because I like to be outside. So we've created this social shopping tool. I would love for you guys all to try it out, give me feedback, tell me how to make it better. We have our dev team every single day, making it 10% better every single day. We've been doing that for a while. But the whole idea is to share what you love and create the life you want, because you're the only one who can do that. Okay, thank you.